telling me what I can do, what I can say, what I can think, who my heroes are supposed to be. Just, just get the off.
Bill Maher just opened Drew Barrymore's eyes in his latest Club Random episode, and the internet hasn't stopped buzzing about it. The outspoken comedian went straight to the point, dismantling Barrymore's weak arguments with ease. As expected, the woke crowd completely lost their minds, but Maher couldn't have cared less. His only focus was delivering raw, sharp truth in doses so direct there was no room for extra spin. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because things are only going to get hotter from here.
You're a very discerning man. When it comes to a lot of things, you are.
It's a charitable word for it, but I appreciate it. Yes, I think I am. I mean,
I've watched you for decades. Go out there and speak your truth.
Yeah.
I don't think there is anything that exists of the truth. It's your truth. And
there is also in life the truth. We may not always be able to discern it, but there is the.
So Barrymore leaned on one of the woke crowd's favorite lines: truth is relative, and you've probably heard it 100 times. Whenever a woke activist gets cornered with solid facts, they retreat to the excuse of "that's your truth, let me live mine." It might sound deep, but in reality, it's just lazy thinking dressed up with self-importance. The truth is simple. There are facts and there are opinions, nothing in between. Facts don't change, no matter how you feel. Gravity doesn't stop working just because falling hurts. Opinions, on the other hand, can either line up with facts or be built on nothing but emotions and illusions. When opinions rest on facts, they have weight, but when they're built only on feelings and wishful thinking, they collapse the moment they're tested. That's the core flaw in Barrymore's argument. It isn't strength, it's escape, and Maher wasn't about to let her slip away with that.
It's very hard to be the one on either side to ever proclaim you know what it is. That is a dangerous thing to do. We always need to hear, because we don't know. We're not God.
no,
Right.
no.
But it does exist, the truth. Not everything is just your truth. I mean, your truth has become sort of like code word for just whatever I feel like believing. Well, that's not really the same thing as your truth. You feel this way.
Yeah.
Feeling is not enough.
And Bill fired another shot straight into the weak core of the woke crowd, proving again that their entire playbook runs on feelings instead of facts. Instead of admitting this, they scramble for odd little bits of so-called evidence that barely hold up, desperately trying to prop up arguments that collapse with the slightest push. Everyone knows feelings change quickly. One day you're certain, the next day you're not. And you can't build anything strong, lasting, or reasonable on a base that shifts like the wind. Yet the woke crowd still insists on taking these unstable emotions and using them to justify life-changing decisions, like pushing kids into transition. Think about it. Children who can't even settle on a favorite color are being told that short-lived feelings define them forever. It's reckless, it's harmful, and Maher cut right through the nonsense. Truth doesn't bend to feelings, and no amount of woke spin will ever change that.
But it is such a taboo subject, the truth.
It is. Oh, and it gets you hated.
Oh, as soon as I said it, I was like, the truth, that there is no truth. I'm like, that doesn't work. You can't say things like that.
Here's where it got razor sharp. Drew Barrymore was clearly shaken, and you could almost see her mind freeze on the spot. She thought she was praising Maher by saying he was speaking his truth, but Maher, quick and precise, cut her off and made it clear there's no your truth or my truth, there's only the truth. That was the moment Drew completely fell apart, stumbling and rambling through a few painfully awkward seconds like a deer caught in headlights. And that is exactly what happens when truth slams into woke ideas. It doesn't just bruise pride, it shatters the whole illusion. Woke lines may sound strong inside echo chambers, but the second they face someone with logic and courage, the mask crumbles. Barrymore wasn't having a conversation anymore. She was just trying to hang on, and in that instant, Maher proved why truth will always roll right over feelings.
It's just so refreshing. Like, you were doing this before it was so dangerous.
Still dangerous.
And it is just way too dangerous now.
Yeah.
But you're still doing it.
It's slightly less dangerous than it was 2 years ago because we did have a vibe change. And because the Democrats lost so badly, in 2024.
Wow, Barrymore almost slipped that one through, quietly hinting that speaking the truth today is somehow dangerous. A classic woke trick of disguising censorship as fake concern. But Maher was sharp and caught it instantly, shutting it down before it could take root. That's the difference between sharp minds and weak ones, and it reminded everyone of what cancel culture did not long ago, when people lost jobs, reputations, and even friends just for daring to question the mob's script. Fear replaced free speech, but here's the twist. With Trump shaking the system and independent media on the rise, those days are fading fast. Cancel culture isn't the raging fire it once was. It's now just a dying spark, losing power, as more people grow bold enough to speak the truth. And Maher made sure nobody forgot that shift.
Brushes off the rose on left-wing censorship and, oh my God, you can't say that. Stop telling me what I can do, what I can say, what I can think, who my heroes are supposed to be. Just get the f off.
Bill Maher took a moment to remind Barrymore and everyone watching of something the woke crowd loves to ignore: the core of free speech written into our Constitution. Free speech isn't some privilege handed out by cultural gatekeepers. It's the basic right of every American to speak their mind, whether or not it bothers others. Maher cut straight through the noise by pointing out that if words ever cross into real crime, that's why we have courts, laws, and systems designed to handle it. Outside of that, speech should remain free, bold, and unfiltered. That is the real beauty of America. We don't silence people just because their words make us uneasy, and we certainly don't hand power to mobs who think hurt feelings count as crimes. Maher's point was simple but powerful. Free speech covers all speech, not just the kind approved by the woke elite, and that is exactly why it must be protected.
A lot of just what viscerally is going on with me when I have issues with the left. Just get the fuck off of me. First of all, I don't believe you. You're not better. You're a lot of posers, not all of you, but just get the fuck off of me.
Well, that's what I like is you call people out from all different areas, and I don't even know how to address parties anymore.
Here, I have to give credit to Bill Maher, because love him or hate him, the man has real courage. He isn't afraid to call out anyone, whether they stand on the left, the right, or anywhere in between, and that kind of consistency is rare in today's political circus. Compare that to the mainstream media, where the rules are painfully obvious. Attack the right for every mistake, but quietly sweep the failures of the left under the rug, serving up the kind of selective outrage people are sick of. Maher refuses to play that game. He'll torch Republicans when they're wrong, but just as quickly call out Democrats when they push nonsense. And that's why, even with all the hate he takes from the woke crowd, people still tune in. In a world drowning in biased reporting and agenda-driven spin, Maher's choice to cut through hypocrisy feels fresh, raw, and badly needed.
Who are ballsy enough to do those things? What is it that scares you or that you care about?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Cut! I was so riveted by the framing there. I was like, wow, who are we talking to? What was the question? What am I?
If you're ballsy enough to be brave enough to say your truths or speak to what you believe is the truth, what scares you and what do you care about?
Oh, what scares me is a little bit me, that, at any moment you can say something that really in private conversation wouldn't upset anybody.
Yes.
But the snitches and bitches will be able to use it to end you, which they did once on Politically Incorrect.
And that right there exposes the perfect hypocrisy of the left, because behind closed doors they say whatever they want. They laugh, they joke, and they share the same raw thoughts the rest of us do. But the second someone dares to voice those same thoughts in public, it suddenly turns into outrage theater. They attack the speaker, act shocked, and try to cancel the person into silence. And it's never really about what was said. It's always about control. They want the power to decide who can say it, when it can be said, and how it must be shaped. And if the so-called wrong person dares to speak, the mob comes rushing in. That's why cancel culture has always been fake. It's not built on morality, it's built on power. And every time someone stands up against that censorship, the hypocrisy of the left becomes harder to hide and impossible to defend.
it's been ended a few times, and I understand that it is real and it can happen.
Right. So, like I always say, whenever I leave the house, not even to just do the show, just leave the house, I'm having dinner at a restaurant, but one of those rooftop restaurants. Because is it really dangerous? Not very, but you could fall off the roof.
Right.
Like when you eat at a normal restaurant, there's no danger of you falling off the roof. When you eat at a rooftop restaurant, there's very little, but it is possible you could fall off.
The Democrats managed to turn the entire country into a place where everyone walked on eggshells, spending years training people to second-guess every word, every joke, and every post online, terrified that one small mistake could destroy their jobs or reputations. They weaponized fear, making ordinary Americans nervous about simply speaking their minds, and instead of honesty, people filtered everything through political correctness, as if dodging invisible traps. It was never about building respect, it was always about control, keeping everyone quiet, careful, and obedient while the self-appointed moral police on the left decided what could or could not be said. That's exactly why so many are now pushing back against this climate of fear, because Americans are done with paranoia. We don't want to whisper anymore, we want to speak freely without waiting for the mob to attack. At the end of the day, Bill Maher's exchange with Drew Barrymore wasn't just a celebrity clash, it was a wake-up call. For too long, the left thrived on censorship, double standards, and a culture of fear that made people too scared to speak, but those days are fading. Independent voices are rising, cancel culture is barely holding on, and more people are refusing to bow to woke rules. And Maher, whether you agree with him or not, proved that truth still matters. And when it's spoken boldly, it cuts through the noise like a knife. The mask is falling, the hypocrisy is exposed, and free speech is making its return. That's something worth celebrating, and with that, we've come to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button and share it with your friends so together we can finally put out the last sparks of woke culture. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.